afternoon. Welcome to our panel today to discuss who owns the zk narratives. And I'm the moderator today. I am from Risc. I'm leading the global marketing team. And thank you so much for all the panelists today to our channel. And as we dive into zk world, we actually found ourselves is that we are in a fascinating crossroad. So, and as you know, we know zk development has very quickly and very fascinating. But that's why we have zk rollups, zk Oracle, zk coprocessor, and zkVM, etc. So all these innovations, the landscape is evolving. But however, we found out that perception about zk is fragmented. So today we are going to explore the zk narratives, and then via various ecosystems. So thank you so much for the panel. So we have Yao Qi from AltLayer. We have Sinka from Delphinus Lab. And also we have Leo from Cysic. And lastly, we have Michael from Brevis. Thank you. So each of the experts, they will bring a unique perspective and valuable insights into how zk is adopted and applied into their projects, and they making the new waves of zk applications. So let's get started. Firstly, I would like to have our panelists to introduce their projects, how their projects integrate with zk, and then please give us an overview.
Cool. Thanks for the invite for the panel. So Waiku here, founder of AltLayer. So at AltLayer, we are basically providing this blockchain infrastructure for all different applications. And the infrastructure, including this kind of rollup as service, AVS as service, and also the verifiable agent as a service. And we started since 2021, right? And at the beginning, as Tina mentioned, we provide the, it's sort of like, at the beginning, it's mostly optimistic rollups, right? And gradually, we have different zk stacks, and there are a bunch of zk rollup solutions. And so for the past 2 years, apart from providing sort of this optimistic rollup OP Arbitrum, at the same time, we're also providing this zk-based rollup. At the same time, also we work closely with partners like Risc provide this kind of extra zk proof on top of the optimistic rollup. So that's sort of this kind of different test stacks we are providing and associated with zk at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah,
hi, this is Sinka. I'm the founder of Delphinus Lab. We are providing a solution that can bridge browser applications, especially applications run in WebAssembly into Web3. Through our reference implementation of zkVM called zkWasm that supports WebAssembly as native bytecode. At the moment, it's not a must because some of the RPC nodes still running in the server side, so it's not necessary zkWasm at all. But because we started with that VM, so all our end-to-end solution is currently bound to a specific VM, but it could change in the future. Thanks.
Hello, hi. Yeah, my name is Leo. I'm co-founder of Cysic. So Cysic starts designing some specialized hardware for zk to make the zk proof generation faster. And then after some time, we found since the ASIC chips takes some time to go to market, so we also built a zk proof layer where we help a lot of zk project to generate the proof. For instance, in the past several months, we generated more than, 7 or 8 million proof for the community. And we also have a zk mobile application where you can verify the zk proof on your cell phone. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Michael from Brevis. So Brevis is a off-chain smart off-chain verifiable computing platform. So what we do from a broad stroke is that we introduce a new paradigm of building decentralized applications, where you can, you don't actually need to concentrate all your computing tasks on blockchain itself, but you can actually migrate many of the data-heavy and complex computation to an off-chain environment. And in that off-chain environment, you can do the computation and also generate the zk proof. So you can submit a zk proof and also the result of the computation back to the blockchain. as if the computation happened entirely on-chain with the same on-chain security and trustworthiness. So we built two products. One is called zk coprocessor. Zk coprocessor focuses on a very specific kind of computation, which is like allowing smart contracts to have access to historical on-chain data and do arbitrary computation on top of them. Think like you can do, proof for user trading volume and allow these users to get a trading volume discount as example, right? So another product we built is called Pickle VM. It is generalized zkVM that you can really put any kind of computation into it and build many different kind of applications, especially when you combine this with our zk coprocessor, you can build very interesting applications such as intelligent DeFi, reward distribution, and many others. We partner with some of the biggest DeFi protocols out there, including PancakeSwap, Euro, Sina, Frax, and many others. So yeah.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So I'm wondering, in your view, what has been the most significant advancements in zk over the past few years? What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, zk has really changed a lot in the last few years, right? So it changed from the lowest level of cryptographic theory to the highest level of the framework and the tool chains available, right? So in 2 years, 3 years ago, the idea of the possibility, the idea of just having the possibility to prove Ethereum execution in real time to enable something like native rollup was just not possible. No one thought that is actually possible. Things like fully trust-free zk consensus client was also not possible. But in the last few years, really a lot of things changed. The introduction of Stark, the evolution of Stark, not introduction of the Stark, the evolution of Stark, the introduction of new kind of a proving system like GKR-based proving system, really made those things that seemed not possible become a reality. Actually, these last few months actually, and things also changed a lot on the upper layer. Development space, right? So it used to be that you have to use something that is extremely hard and not developer friendly to use to build specialized circuit for a specific application. But now, the lower level, zk circuit framework itself become much more friendly with things like Punky 3, with things like Canark that were not available in two years ago. But at the same time, you also have things like zk coprocessor, zkVM, like Pickle, that allows you to just express your high-level intent to say, okay, I want to build a dynamic fee based on users' trading behavior. This user is a VIP trader. I want to award whoever traded on my DEXs for more than $10 million the last month to get a discounting trading fee. Those things were not possible now, but with a new framework like Brevis is zk coprocessor and Pickle, these kind of applications become possible. It's really a big change in the zk space.
Yeah, so I'll just probably summarize a little bit. I guess Michael has done an excellent job in summarizing the progress in zk. So basically we have three aspects of progress in zk. First, the proof generation speed has been way much faster than several years ago. Using the GPU acceleration problem, also Cysic's hardware, we can really achieve real-time proving in the coming months. And secondly, previously people need to learn a lot of DSL, this domain-specific language to write on zk circuits. It actually require a lot of expertise to write a secure zk circuit. But right now, because of the zkVM development by Risc, Sinka, and Brevis, and also Delphinus, yeah. So we can actually just write this our normal. We can write in using our normal programming language such as Python or Rust, and this zkVM will compile the program into the zk circuit we want. And the third is we have a lot of applications using zk compared with several years ago. So previously, people think probably we can just use to build this zk layer 2s, but right now we have this zk login, zk coprocessor, zkVM, zkML, and zk bridge, a lot of things. Yeah.
I, so it's really have changed a lot. I mean, 2 years ago, I mean, when I first time see Risc 0, which is it's a legend project, right? Which first they proved that zkVM is possible. At that time, there are only Plonk, right? A small portion of stock in the market. But after 2 years now, we have Plonky 3, we have stock, we have GKR, we have Polyhedra, I think it's still some check-based, and still some old projects like us using Halo 2 and KDG. So tech stack has changed a lot, but unfortunately, the expectation of how much value CK can create is somehow reduced a little bit in the market, right? Because 2 years ago, when we see Risc 0 as one of a kind of legend project, we expect that this kind of innovation can bring us huge adoption very quickly, right? But after 2 years, once we get a few more VMs that on the market, we think it might still cost 2 or 3 years to achieve the vision of mass adoption of the zkVM, so we can bring everything trustless. So I think the expectation of how much zkVM and the ZK technology can bring us is a little bit decline in the market. So the tech is very prosperous, but the market expectation is dropping through these 2 years. I don't know what will happen in the future. Thanks.
So just to follow up, like, excuse me. So because we are providing this sort of roll-up infrastructure for a lot of projects, right? We definitely observe like this kind of transitioning from all different ZK technologies, like since 2021 till now, right? Clearly, we can see that in the early days, we have this kind of non-ZK EVM project like StarWare, StarNet, right? And then typically we call that it's a sort of first generation of a ZK EVM chain, ZK VM chains, and after that we have ZK Sync, and probably scroll the other ones like sort of like they need to change something, but at least instruction-wise, they can make it. We can make it much better ZK VM, right? And then later, I think I mentioned, right? We have Risc 0 and Succinct and also Brevis, Lagrange. Everyone working on this zkVM, and basically right now with zkVM, we don't need to modify like sort of these typical standard, for example, OP stat, right? So in that case, we can easily translate existing optimistic rollup into ZK rollup. We clearly see and witness this sort of progress on the ZK technology. But at the same time, right, also the performance-wise, it's much faster, it's much cheaper. But in the end, if you look at the current market, the issue is somehow for a lot of these applications in the market, they still haven't like sort of figure out whether they need the ZK technology or not. It's basically like people still want probably non-ZK technology, including like all different project want just OP style Arbitrum orbit instead of like pure ZK EVM or ZK rollup. And at the same time, there's a bunch of project, right? For a lot of time, they prefer, even for the games and application, they prefer this off-chain server over like this ZK technology to make sure there's a better proof on-chain.
Thank you so much. I heard of like real-time proving and also tech stacks improving all these like very exciting advancements. So, but with all these like very exciting advancements, have you ever come across any very exciting projects or application that comes to your mind that integrates with ZK? Just give us a very simple example.
So far, one of these application or projects came to my mind is WorkOn. So at least even we say that, okay, it's sometimes people say that it may not be legitimate, to really scan your op, right? But still, I think Worldcoin is still one of the biggest applications using zk to generate proofs, at least for your data. And beyond that, if you look at these sort of L2s, right? We still have a bunch of zkVM chains like running there. Even sometimes we don't call them applications, but at least it's definitely the most powerful use case, which also drive a lot of efforts still in the zk space. Like, for example, better prover network and cheaper prover and all these sort of efforts. Yeah. So one is like work on the other, the zk rollup. Yeah.
Thank you. So Worldcoin and Sinka, what do you think?
Because I do not have much exposure to various applications. What I understand the most is a very old traditional, old school application called StackEX. Because I've been working on porting some of the StackEX stack for a while, 1 or 2 years. And I found that this is still currently the most end-to-end sort of project I have been handled with. It's the current, I think, DEX code is about 14,000 lines, which is comparable to a zkVM volume of codes, right? And actually, it's the most interesting part of the StackEX solution is that maintaining a decentralized zk DEX is actually easier than maintaining a centralized DEX. Centralized exchange code base, because in a centralized code base, it's very frustrated to actually manage the state. You never know what is the current state because you have so many things you have to synchronize. But in the StackEX, you know the current Berkeley root somehow represents the current states. It's very easy to roll back, re-roll, replay, all these kind of things. But interesting enough is that after StackEX, which is already a very successful project, none of the successful zkVMs trying to reproduce an application like that. For example, Risc 0, right? It's the most successful VM, one of the most successful VM, but they are not interested actually reproduce a StackEX solution, right? Which actually StackEX has quite a lot of customers. As far as I know, at least 20 that pays quite a lot for the service. But it seems that other VMs not interested in that. Our VM is interested in that, but because our VM is not fast enough compared to other VM, we are frustrating porting these kind of solutions to us. But I still believe that the DEX solution runs on zkVM will be a killer application recently, or maybe in the future for quite a long time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on the time frame. So for now, I guess, since like we still have a limited zk proof generation time, so like probably like to bring like more users like to the zk part, we can have this like zk login. So like which means like you can prove the some credential of your own, and then you can use it to log in. So we don't rely on this like centralized single sign-on servers like from Google or like Facebook to do the login. Like we can do it on our own using the zk technology. Yeah, I guess like Mr. Naps is doing something in that area, and probably like later when the zk hardware like which is capable to handle much better zk proof generation process than the GPU coming to the market, such as like what Cysic is doing, then we can rely to say like we can verify the inference or even the training result from this like AI, this large language model. Yeah, so that's something like probably like will happen sometime next year, like when our hardware come to the market, so we can actually trust the AI inference, the AI training that carried out by someone else. Yeah.
Thank you. Michael, how do you think?
Well, from our perspective, right? So like we really want to focus, our initial focus at least, at Brevis is to really kind of try to focus on the end user adoption, the end user application side of things. I think this is like how we can actually just create value for the entire ecosystem in the end of the day, right? So we need more users, we need better user experiences, and our question is how zk can actually enable that, and how we can build that. Well, I want to kind of mention two very specific examples or use cases for zk and zk coprocessors. One category is called intelligent DeFi. So the idea here is that if you look at every single decentralized, finance application, no matter you're a big whale trader or a small kind of a new knob trader in a DEX, you are offered the exact same kind of user experience. Even if you traded like $10 million in the last month, it's going to be the same thing. If you traded like $1 in the last month, like in the next month, right? So, but if we look at all the centralized exchanges, and generally for any Web 2 applications, it is highly customized and highly kind of tailored to individual users' behavior and individual users' profile. Now, the reason that we couldn't do that in blockchain was because that in smart contracts, there were no way to actually trust-freely access a user's behavior from kind of a historical on-chain data, right? So, in theory, you can do that by essentially do something like a Merkle tree proof in on-chain to essentially say, okay, this is like a block header, right? So in theory, block header entails all the historical blockchain information. You can kind of unzip or decompress that information on-chain directly, but the decompression computation itself is extremely expensive. So one thing we use Brevis for is to actually, make that kind of a computation, migrate that kind of a computation from on-chain to an off-chain world, where you can actually now generate attestation and proof of historical on-chain data, such as a user's trading behavior, a user's lending behavior, a user's token holding behavior, a user's LP positions, fee accumulation, and all of these. Once you have that, you can start to build a profile and then ingest that profile into DeFi application. So DeFi application can start to treat user differently based on their user profile and historical behavior. That, I think, will bring a new generation of DeFi user experience. And that will actually kind of change a lot of things, like in terms of how users interact with decentralized applications, specifically DeFi a lot, like things like VIP trading program, things like token holding based dynamic fee, things like incentivizing user to hold LP positions, and so on and so forth. Another category that we really focus on is something called a continuous reward distribution or continuous incentivization distribution. So if you look at today's token generation events for our project, it usually starts with a centralized airdrop, a one-off airdrop, and then you have this kind of a different program where you have a central entity that distributed tokens to users based on different kind of matrices. But this kind of a program has its drawbacks in terms of security, fairness, and compliance. So what we do at Brevis is that we build something that allows users themselves to generate a zk proof of their interaction with whatever application, whatever chain, whatever protocol they're interacting with, and they can use this trust-free zk proof to claim their reward directly in a fully transparent and secure manner. So for example, we have already launched this with Zero Money, which is like rising star in the stable token ecosystem. We're gonna power their incentive distribution and fee switch, like their entire fee switch and revenue distribution is going to be powered by Brevis. So I think zk as a off-chain computing paradigm and a scaling paradigm is something that can really change how many of the user experiences of decentralized applications are built and kind of used today.
Okay. Then a very important question is how do you weigh the importance of being the first rather than being the most useful applications in the market?
Preferably, we would all want to be the first useful application in that space, right? So, but yeah, like in zk space, you see a lot of second mover advantages. Because like the underlying technology itself is evolving really rapidly. So like, how can you build a zk? If you're building zk infrastructure, the biggest like strategic decision you have to make is to make sure your entire infrastructure is future-proof. That is like you leave some way and you make it modular enough so that when the underlying technology evolve, underlying mathematical theory evolve, you can actually incorporate that easily. So this is how, for example, Brevis Pickle is built. Like, you know, we built this as a highly modular architecture where you can actually swap different prover fields dynamically, you know, in the entire VM without changing any kind of significant, you know, architecture of this. So this is why, for example, Pickle can outperform many of the existing VM solutions out there. And right now, it's the world fastest zkVM on CPU.
Yeah, it's just like an impossible triangle, right? You want to be the fastest, and at the same time, it's impossible for you to both like being the most useful or most well developed, and also like because it's also like you need to invest lots of money into your project, right? So, what do the rest of the three panelists? What do you feel like? How do you balance? What is your priority when you are building a project?
Our lab is a follower. We are neither the fastest, the most useful, or the well-developed. I just following the giant players in the market and try to find our niche, small market. So I'm not worried at that part. I watch all these VMs compete with each other and learn from them. Maybe they are all open source. But as far as I know, the Pickle VM is currently fastest in the CPU part, right? Risc somehow has the fastest batcher at the moment, right? SB1 has 2 batchers, and one is handwritten, and another has a batching script. So I don't know. I will start the market, and I even doubt that the values that CK created cannot be matched by the revenue it can generate. That I'm worried about that, but okay, it's the revenue.
Yeah, so I guess it also depends on like what field you are working on. So if you are working in the hardware field, if you are the first to tape out on like zk chip, while the community is still like converging to something there, and probably like your chip will be wasted. Yeah, so like in that sense, you may not want to be the first to do these things. Like you wait, like you do like enough development, like you do enough development and also research, and also wait a little bit for the like community to reach roughly consensus on what the algorithms will be like, and then you do the chip tape out. Yeah, that will be like in a much like better shape than the first one to do the chip tape out. And for the probably like for the software parts, yeah, we probably like want to be the first in some perspective. Yeah, we try to like explore like what zk can be used, how we can use zk to draw a lot of like users to the community. And like for instance, like in Cysic testnet phase 2, like we have like more than 200K verifiers who join Cysic network to verify the zk proof. And we have like more than 100,000 GPU servers there to help the community to generate the zk proof. Yeah, so that's also the first and also I guess right now the largest zk prover network.
So it really depends like what kind of like project you are building. Okay, Yao Qi, what's your thought?
I think it's like it's not just for crypto, because my friends also doing the startups in AI space, right? Let's be very practical. If you can do something as the first one, you can roll out to the market, right? I believe there are 2 things you should do. Either you should do fundraise, or you should do TGE immediately. So that something can help you to really capture the benefits at the first one. Everything is about timing, because after that, we can clearly see that because at the first one, typically it may not be perfect, and you may not really capture the real demand from the market, but the hype will be big. I mean, there will be a lot of like sort of follow-ups on like sort of this new idea, people can build better, like sort of these application on top of it, right? Or even better models. So as they mentioned multiple times, like Risc Zero did the very first zkVM, it was so good, and people, but later on, like everyone is trying to figure out, okay, how we can build a better zkVM, and actually right now we have so many, to be honest, like relatively much better zkVM compared to the one first released by Risc Zero like 2 years ago. So that's why I mentioned, right? You should, if we make it very practical, it's either you need to do fundraise or you like sort of need to do TG right after you become the first mover. That is sort of the way to maximize the first mover advantage. And then otherwise, if you like, we figure out like, okay, the way to refund the product market fit, basically the most usable directional application, right? Then you don't need to rush, because you can easily generate a lot of revenues, you can capture a lot of users, and then you roughly have more time to properly plan, okay, should we do proper like sort of fundraise or TG next? Because like you with the better product market fit and better like sort of polished application and the protocol, you have much more like sort of insight into the space as a second mover, like sort of in the space. At the same time, since you already capture a lot of users and attractions, there's so many ways you can really plan. So that's two things like compare like sort of whether you're a first mover or second mover. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really insightful. And because due to the time limit, so one last question. When do you foresee there will be a ZK summer? And then to like, what conditions do you believe are necessary for ZK to be widely adopted and by developers or integrates as a key component to every crypto project?
Like, I think last DevCon, I think around November last year, right? We talk about like probably we will see a boom of ZK this year. But apparently due to market condition, like sort of various reasons, right? I think if we really want to have another ZK summer, or not another, the ZK summer, probably we really need to make sure like the ZK proof generation, everything as cheap as like sort of a non-ZK solution. At the same time, we need also have some killer applications like ZK native application instead of like we just convert one of these crypto or Web2 applications.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the cost of the proving is the key. How about Sinka? How do you feel?
Last year is CK summer. Now I think winter is coming a little bit. but yeah, I feel last year is you were doing CK, you get respected by quite a few developers. But this year, if I tell somebody that I'm still doing ZK, then people might ask how long will you stay in the ZK narrative. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so I guess like on the tech side, like we are sort of like in a ZK summer. Like we saw a lot of like progress in the tech side. We don't talk about the tokens here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm more of an optimistic one here. Like, I think, so I think there are a lot of development happening in the background. I know the market has been brutal, but like, is there anything I've learned in the last 7 years building in this industry is that many of the interesting product and especially use cases and user adoptions initially happen in the depths of the bear market. And I'm not saying that we're in the depths of the bear market yet, but like I think right now there aren't a lot of distraction, however the ZK space is actually progressing in a very steady and rapid speed. Like I can see in the next 6 months, like just from kind of a sheer capacity and capability of ZK proving systems, we will be able to achieve real-time proving of EVM execution. Right, so like on a single machine, 8 cards. So this was considered like impossible even last year in November. In November, people were thinking about, well, let's do some math. Maybe we can do this in 100 machine. But now, like we can actually kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel for this. Now, what this means is that, of course, this doesn't mean that we will automatically get a ZK summer with numerous applications. we still, as infrastructure providers and builders ourselves, need to really think about what kind of value we can provide for the end users and developers and applications. And in some cases, we might need to build application ourselves as first-party application. And this is something that we have been doing recently. So we are going to launch some first-party application powered by ZK that actually provide benefit and value to the end users along the line of continuous reward distribution and continuous protocol incentivization very soon. And we already see the market demand. There are a huge amount of partners already onboarding in our platform because there is a real demand outside of ZK for this. ZK is valuable for long-term and for compliance and for security reasons, but the underlying product itself should be useful and valuable.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, all these are very insightful and very exciting insights for ZK, all the ZK projects. And okay, then this is the end of this section, and thank you so much for joining our discussion. Hopefully you grabbed some very, very useful expertise from all our experts here, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.